Here is a cinematic-style narration draft built for a 40-minute emotional YouTube story video. Long, plain paragraphs, no headings, organic hook with like, subscribe, motivation placed at the start in a natural emotional way, smooth pacing, heavy emotional depth. If you are watching this on your phone or TV right now, pause and just imagine this one picture. A father sitting on frozen concrete in falling snow, his daughter curled in his lap, and right before she closes her eyes, she whispers, "You forgot me." If this moment already punched your heart, then don't leave without pressing the like button, not for the channel, but because somewhere in the world there is a father or daughter who needed someone to remember them, and your like pushes this story to them. And if you value stories that bring humanity back to people, subscribe, because we don't upload videos, we upload reminders to feel. He had not even noticed how long he had been sitting there. Snowflakes were caught in his beard like frost stitching itself to his skin. His coat was thin, open, and his arms wrapped tightly around the tiny body inside. Her name was Aila. She was 9. Her cheek rested against his chest, as if she were trying to melt her face into him, to disappear from the world. The streetlight above them flickered in intervals, throwing them in and out of existence like the world itself couldn't decide whether to let them be seen. His name was Ray. 3 years ago, he was the man people called when their house roof leaked, when their car wouldn't start, when their child needed fixing a cycle chain, a solid neighbor, a builder, a man others trusted. And then the accident, the truck that skipped a red light and smashed into his wife's car, the call he still hears in his dreams, the funeral he still hasn't forgiven himself for. Because he was the one who had insisted she go alone that night. He was the one who had said, "You take the car. I'll walk." And she never returned. Grief is not loud. Some people think loss means screaming, throwing things. No, the real kind of loss turns you into a ghost while you are alive. Ray stopped shaving, stopped going to work, stopped answering calls, stopped opening curtains. He sat for days on the same sofa where his wife used to fold laundry. People told him to be strong, which is another way of saying, grieve faster so we don't have to watch you. They stopped visiting. Eventually his employer replaced him. Bills piled. Warnings came. Apartment gone. Before he fully understood it, he was a father with a child and no door to close at night. He tried, God knows he tried, selling tools, taking odd temporary shifts, but grief had rotted out his ability to show up like a normal functioning man. Some nights he would walk until Aila slept in his arms, so she wouldn't see him cry. Some days he begged silently without speaking because shame glued his throat. Tonight was one of those nights when he felt everything collapsing again. He had carried her for hours looking for a warm place that didn't cost money. Every bench had snow on it. Every store had a "No loitering" sign. His legs gave up beside an office building stoop. He sat. She curled into him. Minutes passed like hours. Cars kept passing, every wheel spraying a hiss of slush. Not one stopped. Not one window rolled down. It is easier to pity from a distance than to help up close. And then, her voice. Soft, half asleep, almost dream state. "You forgot me," she whispered. He did not breathe for a second. The words sliced deeper than any winter wind. He pulled her closer instantly. No, I didn't forget you. I never." But she was already asleep again, unaware of the shrapnel she had placed in his chest. The truth was, she didn't mean he forgot her on that step. She meant he had forgotten to live for her. Since the day her mother died, he had been physically next to her, but emotionally absent, sunk into memory like mud. Children do not need perfect fathers, they need present ones. Tears broke out of him without permission. He pressed his face into her hair and whispered apologies she couldn't hear. But the apology did something to him. It woke a furnace in his ribs. Something that had been dead moved. He stood up. Not later. Not tomorrow. Right there, in the freezing dark, he made a decision that felt like a vow thicker than blood. This child will not feel forgotten again. He did not know where they would sleep. He did not know how he would work again with a shattered mind. But he made the decision before knowing the path, like all real change begins. He walked until his knees shook. Not looking for comfort, looking for possibility. A closed diner. A closed pharmacy. A church with its glass doors locked, but a poster taped to the window, "Winter shelter, open all night, entrance on 5th Street." He half ran. Inside, Heat hit them like a blessing. Volunteers guided them to cots, brought hot soup, brought blankets that felt like mercy. Ayla ate like a child who had been pretending not to be hungry. Ray watched her, really watched her, like a man recognizing his child for the first time in months. That night he didn't sleep. He kept looking at her peaceful face and repeating silently, "You are not forgotten. You are the reason I start again." Morning staff offered counseling, offered a pathway to temporary work, offered help. In the past he would have refused out of pride. That morning he said yes before his shame could answer. Days turned into structured weeks, therapy appointments, job leads, parenting coaching, aid applications. It was not easy, nothing cinematic, painful sessions where he screamed into pillows, job interviews he failed because his hands shook, moments he almost collapsed under guilt again, but every time he pictured that snowy whisper, that sentence that detonated his sleep forever, he got back up. 3 months later, he was working part-time repairing furniture. 6 months later, renting a shared room in a men with children housing program. 9 months later, Ayla was enrolled in school again. A year later, they had a tiny one-bedroom, not perfect, not luxury, but a door that closed, and a father who had come back from the dead. 1 year after the snow night, Ayla handed him a card she made at school. On the front she had drawn 3 figures, a mother with wings, a little girl, and a father standing in the middle holding her hand. Inside she wrote only 4 words. "This time you remembered. If you are still watching, then listen, not to me, to the echo of this story. Somewhere there is a person you have grown emotionally distant from, a child, a parent, a sibling, a friend, someone alive who feels forgotten. You don't need money or speeches or perfection to fix it. You need to decide, like he did in the cold, that you will not let forgetting win." If this story reminded you of anyone, hit like so it reaches the person it's meant to shake awake. And subscribe so you don't miss the next story, not for entertainment, but because sometimes the only thing that pulls someone back to life is a story they hear at the right moment. And before you scroll, send one message today to one person you have emotionally drifted from. Do not wait for another snow night whisper to regret it.